Hello viewer, I'm pleased that you have chosen to join me on this trip to Toronto, Ontario. My name is Don. Toronto, Ontario is a very large city, near the, I think, 4 million people, located on the northwest end of Lake Ontario. This is an early map of Toronto showing its layout about a century ago. A lot of the buildings still remain in the old part of town, particularly around Queen's Park, where the legislative buildings were built in the late 1800s. This modern map shows Central Island, where the zoo is located, the CN Tower, Yonge Street and University Avenue, with Bloor Street and Queen's Park at the northern end. The area shown is the downtown core area of Toronto, the area which I got to know. Here's a satellite view of Toronto showing its urban sprawl. This painting from Central Island shows the Toronto shoreline with the CN Tower. Another Toronto painting followed by a photograph of the same scene. This painting, perhaps done in the late 1940s, illustrates Yonge Street by night. Over the years, I've made about 50 trips in and out of Malton Airport in Toronto. Here's a shot taken in 1968 showing the Toronto shoreline. This was before the days of the CN Tower. Now a few pictures of Toronto shoreline today. The CN Tower is one of the tallest towers in the world, and I was really amazed at the view from the top. It's got a glass floor, so you can look straight down. The building seems to soar forever into the sky. Let's look at some views from the top of the CN Tower. The height of the tower makes the other skyscrapers look like miniatures. This is a view looking along the Gardiner Expressway to the west. A view to the north. In the early 1960s, I was a Boy Scout in Belleville, Ontario. I did a week camp in Toronto where I explored Casa Loma, pictured here. It had a secret staircase. I found that very exciting. One of my favorite places in Toronto is Toronto Zoo, located on Central Island. You catch a ferry out. The zoo is excellent, with a very large range of animals. Is this a friend of yours? In 1969 and 1970, I spent 2 summers working in and out of Toronto, located in Queen's Park. I spent a lot of time doing research in the library at Toronto University. I did my research in the old library, but at the time the Robarts Library was under construction. I can remember spending many Friday and Saturday nights in the 3rd and 4th stack of the library. I worked for the Lands and Forests, which was located next to the Legislative Building at Queen's Park. Here's a little write-up on the Legislative Building, and we'll take a look at it because it's very picturesque. The building itself is very Victorian and also has an excellent library, which I use quite a bit. Here's a chandelier in the Legislative Building. This building was called the Whitney Block, and I worked on the 3rd floor researching canoe routes. Here I wrote the first draft of a book called Northern Ontario Canoe Routes, which I think the Lands and Forests still publishes in a modified form today. I was to spend 4 summers paddling canoe routes during the summer months in Northern Ontario to help contribute to the book. There's a wealth of history surrounding Queen's Park, and because from 1966 to 1970 I completed an honors degree in Canadian history, I was pretty up on it. Here's Queen Victoria. Sir John A. Macdonald, of course, was the Prime Minister of Canada from 1867, Confederation, until his death in 1891. But he was also an architect in the Confederation of Canada. Lord Simcoe contributed to a lot of the settlement in southwestern Ontario. Here's the Toronto Anglican Cathedral. I was always impressed by the Toronto City Hall. Here's the old Toronto City Hall, and its reflection is in the high-tech building to the right. Once again, a contrast of the old and traditional and the new. More contrast. Toronto is an exciting mix of architecture spanning many generations. I rented an apartment on Maitland Street off Yonge, but spent a lot of time walking up and down Bloor Street around the university. This is the more traditional Toronto as I knew it in the 1960s, with the telephone lines not yet underground.